Goku's new game, and we're gonna get started with this.
Cool.
Friend stats are not available. That's probably okay. I'm gonna do a campaign.
Yep.
And what difficulty do you think would be appropriate right now?
I would play it for the purposes of our live stream. Play it on easy.
Okay, let's do it. Let's do it. So, I'm getting a little handicap here. Really kind of Richard. So we're gonna do new game data. Okay. Let's get going.
Oh wow, there's commercials on our live stream right now.
Yeah.
Twitch has got to make money somehow.
That kind of themes to Uncharted 3.
Yeah,
in a way.
that was really bizarre. I was like, is that the Uncharted choice in this thing?
For I knew I would not be believed. The video played up for a while. Okay, so if you can't see the video, Steve's gonna work on that for you. Okay, what is going on?
That's my blood. That's my blood. That's a lot of my blood.
Just looking at the window. Okay, so moments ago Richard was saying that this game has an interesting start. I see what he's getting at now.
When did you realize the precarious situation that you were in, Brendan? From the beginning?
When he's looking out the window, I will say I am familiar with this scene. I had
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, seeing him just wake up though, I wasn't sure if that was now or if it's about to fall down. Yeah, so a rock in a hard place.
Alrighty. So hopefully there are a few different
Yeah.
reasons why this scene is interesting. Maybe I'll kind of narrate them
Go
into
for
being
it.
for you
Yeah.
as you play.
What I'm noticing is that this game is totally HUDless right now. There's like no sort of like overlays saying controls, health, etc.
Yeah.
So I'm just sort of instinctively going to the joystick and moving around.
Cool. During the development of the Soul Reaver series of games that I worked on with Amy Hennig, who was the creative director of this game, she was the game director of the first Uncharted game, she and I and a bunch of the rest of us set a kind of ludic aesthetic for ourselves that whenever possible, if we could get rid of the head-up display elements, we would.
Really?
Because we thought that they can be at least intrusive, and that if we dispense with them, if we hide them whenever we can, then overall your impression of the game is more cinematic. You know, when you've got these animating icons hovering in the corner of the screen, they can have great gameplay utility, but they can also divert your attention in a way that isn't useful for supporting the central emotional experience of the game.
So maybe you'd say that they're a tool that can be useful, but you really don't want to use until you know that you absolutely have to.
Right, and just like every tool, there's a time and a place for it. Yeah.
So says Professor Oak.
And you said that was so like that was
Yeah.
super long ago, right?
Yeah. Amy and I started working together in, I think, 1998. So we worked together for 13 years with a 6-month break where she had moved down to work at Naughty Dog and I was still working at Crystal Dynamics.
Okay. So
In the
yeah,
Bay
you guys
Area.
sort of
We sort of,
followed
I
each
kind
other
of followed her
slowly,
to
yeah,
Southern
and you lagged
California. She
behind a little
blazed
bit,
the
but-
trail, yeah.
Okay.
And this was part of a whole sequence of folks who moved, who worked together at Crystal Dynamics and then moved to Naughty Dog over time, including Evan Wells, who I first worked with when he was I believe he was an intern actually, when we worked together on the first Gex game for the 3DO at Crystal Dynamics. Evan is now one of the co-presidents of Naughty Dog, and also Bruce Straley, who was up at Crystal Dynamics.
I'm just
Uh-oh.
catching Brendan's reactions out of the corner of my eye.
Yeah. So, Brendan, hopefully you're having fun. You seem to be getting through this in a pretty intuitive way.
Yeah, for the most part, I'm surprised by sort of how many different things I've done with so few inputs.
Right.
I've climbed and jumped around and
Mm-hmm.
moved around this bar. Okay.
Great, and we aspired to keep the core traversal moveset of this game very compact. We wanted it to be intuitive. At the same time, of course, we have to learn the mechanics of new games that we approach. And I think one of the things that is successful about this level is that it's a sneaky tutorial. So we really wanted to make sure that the player understood all of the core mechanics of this game in a really robust, deep way right from the beginning of the game. But we didn't want to force the player to sit through a boring, didactic, learny tutorial. We wanted you to have this dramatic experience.
I'm sorry. For the sake of our viewers, we use the word didactic.
Yeah.
Like, what does that sort of mean in the context of game design?
Well, it means it refers to a teaching and a learning experience, right? Things can be either overtly didactic, where I make you I drill you on your 12 times table over and over again, and then I test you on it, or they can be stealthily didactic, where I invite you to a party and stage some things so that you absorb some information kind of subliminally, and you're having a good time, and then I ask you a few questions in a nonchalant, conversational way that see if you've internalized the information that I wanted you to absorb. Now, you wouldn't believe how much smoke and mirrors there is in that sequence to make it so that that train car slides off the edge of the cliff in just the right rate, so that if you, the player, hit a reasonably successful rate of running down that train, then it will fall off in such a way as to create the most dramatic moment for you, the player.
So optimize on this curve such that it's just falling, it's just sort of going over the edge right when I get to the, oh man.
Exactly.
Buy me a
So,
drink, sailor.
a lot of smoke and mirrors.
Harry Flynn?
We can sit for the cutscene.
Hey! What the hell are you doing here?
I'm looking for you, mate.
Uh-oh. Should I be flattered or worried?
Maybe a bit of both. Come here. I've got a job for us.
Really?
The client is willing to part with a huge sum of cash if we acquire a certain object for him.
All right, I'm listening.
Now, you're not going to like this.
Oh, no. No, you're out of your mind.
Yeah, you just hear me out for a second.
Flynn, we both know two people who were killed trying to lift something out of this
And
place.
one who made it out.
Yeah, barely.
I can't do this without you, Drake. You're the only one who's cracked it, and you know better than anyone it's a two-person job.
No. 3, actually.
Right. And speak of the devil, here she comes now.
What?
Chloe Fraser.
Nate. Drake. Nathan. Drake.
Hello, Harry.
Chloe here's one of the best drivers in the business. She'll take good care of us.
I bet.
Right, look. I've got it all figured out. We go in through the sewer.
Loving it so far.
That puts us in the courtyard. From there, we scale up the wall, run across the rooftops, and just drop down into the exhibit hall. Bob's your uncle. And what is worth all this trouble, I hear you ask?
I didn't, but go ahead.
So bitter.
But that's it. An oil lamp.
Yeah.
It's worthless. I don't get it.
Neither do we. That's why we tracked you down.
Well, it sounds like you're working for a nutcase. Some collector who's got too much time and money on his hands. And by the way, this is not worth any of it.
But there's more. How's your 13th century Latin, mate?
Where'd you get this?
Borrowed it from the files of the nutcase.
In Trebizond, we were set upon by thieves. Father, Maffeo, and I were robbed of our greatest treasures. This was written by Marco Polo.
Yes, that much we were able to work out.
Unfortunately, the rest of it's nonsense.
Hey, hold on. So that it should not fall into the wrong hands, I concealed my great sorrow in the unlikeliest place. The light of the great Khan shelters the fate of the 13.
See what I mean? It's just gibberish.
He's talking about the lost fleet.
Yeah.
I know, someone want to fill me in?
Marco Polo leaves China with 600 passengers and 14 ships, loaded down with treasure from Kublai Khan. Now he lands in Persia a year and a half later, with only 1 ship left and only 18 passengers. Now he recorded every detail of his journey, but he never told what happened to all those ships and the passengers.
So somewhere out there are 13 ships loaded with the Emperor's treasure waiting to be found.
Yeah, and that is what your client is after. Hey, look at this lamp. It's covered in Mongolian script. It must have been a gift from Kublai Khan.
The light of the great Khan shelters the fate of the 13.
Marco Polo hid something inside this lamp. Something that pinpoints the site of the Lost Fleet.
So, we're dicking this guy over, right?
Damn straight.
Absolutely.
Very good.
We're in then?
What the hell? I mean, what could possibly go wrong?
This is a really good cutscene. I guess I'm still not sure. I was just in the train getting my like butt beats. Oh, am I going back into the train now? Oh my lord! Wow.
So, I mean, quite a long cutscene, quite a lot of story setup to be done at the beginning of any great tale, I think. I often think that a lot of the work that you have to do in storytelling is introducing and establishing the characters, and I think that cutscene does a really good job of that. I think those are great performances, of course, from Nolan North and Claudia Black and Steve Valentine. There's a really great moment there. I don't know if you guys noticed it, and I'll spoiler it a little bit for you. Drake and Chloe already know each other when Flynn introduces them to one another, and there's this really subtle moment when Chloe's settled into a seat and she kind of widens her eyes at Drake like this to go, just play along. And Drake, of course, hasn't let slip that he knows her. So already you've got this kind of tension between the characters, which is interesting, right? It gets our attention as third-party observers.
I totally never noticed that playing this game.
Next time, watch out for it. Check it out. And my friend Josh Scher, who works at Naughty Dog, was the lead cinematics animator for this game. Those are the kind of details that he loves to go to town for.
It's funny. So you showed me a lock, and it says press L2 to aim and R2 to shoot. Am I to shoot this lock like in a CSI?
Let's see.
I remembered.
Cool.
Wow, very cool. So you just mentioned the lead director of the cutscenes, right? Like, what was sort of your relationship to them over the course of this project?
Oh, very tight. I mean, all of the folks at the core of the team, all of the leads are in constant touch with one another.
Okay, so a guy was pointing his gun at me and then blew up, but you're saying all the leads are in constant touch with each other.
Exactly, yeah. All having to make sure that we're perfectly in synchrony and that all of the gameplay and story beats are nicely aligned. It takes a lot of work, takes a lot of deliberate communication, reaching out to people over and over and over again to make sure that we're all still on the same page.
Absolutely. So I'm seeing myself, okay, I have these, and I think I've learned by now that triangle is kind of the, oh no, I can jump, okay.
Yeah, so we have a question from the chat for Richard, which is how historical artifacts in this game?
Well, we had this goal when we set out to create the Uncharted games that it was kind of a stealthily didactic goal. We really wanted to inspire people's passion and curiosity about the real world, about history and geography in particular, but really about the whole domain of human knowledge if we could. So we agreed among us that wherever possible, our games would pass the Google test.
What's the Google test? Is it just where if you hear sort of a fact called out, then you Google it like, oh, is that really, it then comes out as right?
Exactly, yeah. So it's correct that Marco Polo left China with an enormous fleet of ships and returned to Europe with only a single ship and never mentioned what happened to all those missing ships.
It's gonna be an awkward moment, just like, Marco Polo, what happened? He's just like, let's talk about something else, okay? I'm tired.
Well,
Just
so
kind of
much
paying off the
foreplay.
beat.
You mind telling me what the hell is going on?
You mean with Flynn?
Yeah, you might have warned me.
And missed the look on your face?
Okay.
Anyway, you haven't exactly made yourself easy to find.
Talk about making yourself easy.
Oh, you're not jealous. Let's not forget who walked out on whom. After all, you don't get to be jealous.
Wait a minute, Chloe.
If it makes you feel any better, my relationship with Flynn is strictly professional.
Really?
Mostly professional. When I figured out he was actually onto something, I thought you'd want to be in on the action.
In like Flynn?